things that is an incredible gift that each poet gives to themselves and to the group after the 3030 project or the conference group is to share where they get published, where they're looking at placing their work, what that process is like. And so we have an alumni group now for the 3030 project that is 300 strong. I think there are only 288 that actually are on Facebook. But it's an enormous group of people. We have publications, I think numbering now 90 different publications have published 3030 work. 40 to 50 books now published with 3030 work, either comprising the entire book, the chapbook, or portions of the book. And networks of people who've never met one another. Some of the people in this room, I hope you'll spend some time getting to know each other afterwards, wrote together or didn't write together, and are listed, bios all. For those of you who didn't go into a lot of detail about your bios, you can find those bios on our 3030 project. And again, for those of you who haven't yet written with us, you can. And the advice, the experience brought into the alumni group is incredibly powerful. It is a bonding experience that reaches to the staff, reaches to us as well. Ronnie Stevens has actually helped me quite a bit at different times, and I'd like you to come and read now.
Hello. I write 3030s twice a year. And actually last year, my marriage ended, which is not a sad thing. And so I did 3 in 6 months. And Tupelo Press one came on the heels. It was the final one of those. And though I felt tapped out, I do 3030s mostly as a form of therapy. I have bipolar disorder, but I don't like medication. So 3030s are like a really great way to push it out. And a couple of my students from back in Tulsa were really struggling. So while I didn't really feel like doing a third 3030, they needed it, and they would only do it if I did it. So I said, fine. And then I approached Tupelo Press, mostly because I met Ilya Kaminsky back in 2007, and he remains just a dear friend and mentor. So really, Tupelo Press has been on my radar for a long time. I followed Stevie Edwards, who was a friend of mine, through her 3030. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I need somebody to make sure I get it done. So that's what I did. This first poem is probably the only one I'll introduce. And I used about 15 images as prompts for the April 3030. And all of the images came from the woman who designed the cover of my first book. She's a really good friend of mine. I actually met her the same year that I met Ilya. All of us happened to be in Ireland at the same time. And I used those images because I had told her back in 2007, I really want to create an illustrated collection where you make, I take your images and write poems to them. And she was game for it, but it never really manifested. So during this particular 3030, I finalized that. I wrote the last 10 poems, and it'll come out in December. So it'll be side-by-sides, all at Frastic. And I'm super excited about it. But this image was a pen and ink with a plague doctor atop a maypole. And I'd never seen a picture of a plague doctor in my life. It terrified me. She was in Dallas for the Dallas Art Show, so I was looking through images and trying to get inspiration. And when I saw that one, I was just absolutely baffled by what it was. And this poem came out of essentially the research I had to do just to understand her mind. Say its name and it will come. The village calls it the darkest May Day in history. Speaks of a haunting just past the tree line on the far side of town. Grass bending and flattening underneath a shrill wind song. He roosts at the top of the maypole, marking the children who spin round in circles, ribbons weaving together an ancestry of ghosts, a lineage born of bright colors and dancing. His walking stick becomes a sieve, wax coat and oilcloth, a black robe. The words plague doctor condense and rewrite themselves reaper. He is not a human being in their stories. No one had ever even seen the face of the man. They remember only hollows dark as pitch where his eyes should be, beak sharp and curved as a sickle, the scent of garlic and camphor wherever he walked. If he ever had a name, it is gone. Was he even a man? Who could say? Now they call it Pesta, Memitim, Azrael, Santa Muerte, death. The story crosses oceans and fords rivers, learns how to tell itself in every language. At the center, a birch tree and children and song, a village on its knees. All right. So the rest of these don't get an intro. They're just fun poems I wrote. They're all first drafts. I wrote last April, if I didn't say that. So these are all the first drafts. I just pulled them from the files. Some have been edited, but I thought it'd be more fun to have them raw. I would riot for less. I carry a marble in my pocket because it's easier to hold a cold glass thing than a hand. Make eye contact with it in crowded rooms. Focus on the creamsicle swirl stuck in the center like an iris. And then there's you, your eyes green shatters. I am already a mess of cuts, crushing all over their sharp. Nothing about you makes sense to my heart, but when we are apart, my chest is a free diver too far beneath the waves. You come to me like a surface breaking, a deep breath I had given up on taking, you holy, unending wind. This one's a true story, which is a little terrifying. Happened to me in third grade. We took the same route home every day. It was her first job, and I know she didn't mean to be 12 years old, running house to house, the both of us stretching our lungs out for the whole street to hear. Grown men in a pickup truck, mustaches and mullets full of menace, poured themselves from the cab and ran to us hungry, sweating. Their laughter was loud as tornado sirens. I remember wondering why no one would come to the doors. Why can't they hear us calling? She yelled for me to ditch my scooter and move faster. I was 8 and tripping over my own shoes. Help us. It wasn't even a scream anymore, just a throaty plea, hoarse and without hope. The fourth door opened and we pushed past a confused woman of 60 or so, slammed it shut and sobbed. When the men had gone and the sidewalk was busy with the afternoon chores, we walked back to the end of the street, our legs moving like whispers through the grass. My scooter cowered in the bushes on the corner, one rim bent and limping. I carried it all the way home, put it in the garage, never touched it again. I learned at an early age not to trust a thing with wheels. I am built for flight. Nothing moves like a boy afraid of everything but his own escape. And those two guys actually got arrested the following day for kidnapping and killing a young child, so I guess we got quite lucky that we were faster than them. And this one I actually wrote yesterday. It wasn't part of the 30-30, so it's really fresh. What I know now. The first time around, I got caught up in the magic, the parallel universes of science and birth, the act of creation. With you, it was less hallelujah and more hellfire, but I wouldn't trade a single midnight snack run for all the newness in the world. You brought the pain, the swollen lung and dislocated rib, the bulge of baby head on hip. You brought a son to this galaxy heart, and it's true that I still have not learned to look upon him without watering the blown glass beneath my brow. I have no clue what to do with the boy, yet here you are on your third night without sleep or shower, spit up in your hair, breast heavy and bruised from his gums, whole body leaning into his fifth feeding with everything I know of grace. Your strong hands brace his back and bobbing head like a Texas skyline, ready to carry whatever storm may break. The first time around, I mistook chance for magic, got lost in the majesty of an uncharted night. What I know now is that there is no trick to the inception of motherhood. It is messy and loud and unstable. It is hungry all hours, never sleeps, barks at the moon and the stars for shining too bright some nights. Motherhood is building the whole goddamn solar system just to make sure the sun never feels anything but centered inside it.
We have some more fresh work. Dee Phelps wrote with us last month, and I'm really excited that that you were in Texas. You got